So I recently posted a YouTube short on this channel, the first ever short that I've posted on this channel, and it got a lot of attention, and I wanted to talk about why. Take a look. You guys see this truck right here? This truck just pulled up to my job where I work in a warehouse to pick up about 16 pallets that look like that. Now I'm sitting over here on my lunch break, so another coworker is going to go ahead and load that truck up. Usually that would be my job, but I'm on lunch break. So I'm watching all this happen, but before any of this happened, the guy who's driving the truck came over to me, very confused, Chinese guy, couldn't speak a lick of English, not one word of English. We had to use a translator app just so he can figure out where he needs to pull the truck up and what he's actually getting. So this guy is driving a big rig around my state, Maryland, and I'm off a very, very busy road right here. This is a very dangerous street that this property is on. Anyway, this truck driver does not speak a lick of English, which means he cannot read any of the road signs. And the reason that I'm sitting in this truck right now, the reason I'm sitting in this truck is because a few months ago, a fresh off the boat African totaled my car because he T-boned me, because he didn't know the rules of the fucking road. And he was an Uber driver. So Uber set him up to make a living driving on the road when he fucking can't read the goddamn signs. And he doesn't know the rules of the road. So he destroyed my vehicle, and now I'm in this piece of shit that I had to borrow from a family member. It's a 1997 Dodge Dakota. So this guy destroyed my vehicle, and the insurance would not give me enough money to replace it. They lowballed the shit out of me. So what's my point? My point here is, why is America allowing these foreign people to come in here if they can't speak, read, or write the English language? They cannot read the road signs, and they cannot understand the rules of the road. That is not fair to anyone who lives here, who's been driving in this country since they were 16 years old like I have, who went through the whole process of getting a license and, you know, had to spend a long time driving around to figure out how everything works. But they just let these people fresh off the boat to come here and get into accidents and destroy people's vehicles like mine. You guys think that's fair? I don't think that's fair. I got a pretty wild response out of this video, a lot of very positive comments and a lot of negative comments. So I wanted to expand on the story that I told in that short because it gets even weirder. So I get off my lunch break and I end up having to load the second half of the pallets into that truck because it was taking forever. It was not finished by the time I got off of my lunch break. So the guy who was doing it before me, he went to lunch and I jumped in and finished it. So basically what happened was the Chinese guy, when I got there, he had been bossing the previous coworker of mine around, telling him how to load these pallets in and out, you know, bossing him around non-verbally essentially because the guy can't speak a word of English. So he was just a very strange, very bossy kind of character. No shirt on. He had his shirt off because it was hot as shit, which is understandable, but still pretty unprofessional. I've never taken my shirt off at work and I sweat all the damn time. So this guy has no shirt on. And as I'm taking the forklift back and forth with these pallets, I'm watching him set up his phone, which I've done before because I make YouTube videos. I know what this looks like. So this guy is setting up his phone in the corner of the truck vertically, and he's filming himself moving these pallets around in the truck with the hand jack. And I guess it was for TikTok or something. But anyway, he's doing that. He's bossing me around. He's just being weird as shit. And then finally, when we're all done, he jumps down off the truck. I have to kind of talk to his dispatch just to figure out what the hell is going on with this guy, what kind of paperwork he needs, blah, blah, blah. So as we're waiting on the paperwork, this guy comes into our warehouse and he starts blaring Chinese music through his phone, just as loud as he possibly can. He's crouching down and just chilling in the shade, waiting for all this to happen. Still no shirt on. Me, I'm out there. My boss is now out there. I mean, this is just, it's fucking insanity. So anyway, I thought that was kind of a comical end to that story. And by the way, that guy was apparently headed to California. I live in Maryland. That's coast to coast. I've made that drive a couple of times. That's a long drive. And to do it in a big rig, when you can't read the road signs and you can't understand the language and you probably don't know all the rules of the road, is so incredibly fucking dangerous and so wildly irresponsible that it's almost shocking that it is allowed to happen. And I had a lot of people in the comments section say that my opinion on the subject is racist. That is a racist thing to say, that people who cannot read and write or speak the English language whatsoever, it's racist to say that it's too dangerous to have them come here and drive on our roads without those basic skills and that basic knowledge that you need. Now, if I were to go to China and I were to drive around on their roads and I got into a fatal accident, this is something that happens here all the damn time, I don't think they would appreciate that very much, and I can't blame them. I shudder to think of what they would do to me if I went to their country and did what they're doing here. I read news articles about this all the time. Tell me I'm wrong. These guys not just destroy vehicles, which, by the way, I'm going to tell you the story of this truck that I'm sitting in right now, because the second half of that video, I discussed my own experience with a no English foreign driver destroying my car a couple of months ago, totaling my vehicle, and now I end up with this beautiful 1997 Dodge Dakota, which, by the way, is a rust bucket, but it's a great truck. Somebody made a comment on my short clarifying that I was a little too hard on this truck. So I agree with you, sir. Great truck. Nothing wrong with this truck. But anyway, I digress. So this fucking Chinese guy, whatever, put him aside. He's off on his way to California. I hope he makes it there alive and he doesn't get anybody else killed. So let me tell you the story of my vehicle real quick. So I was driving through Baltimore City. This was in January. So it has been since January that I have not had my vehicle. It's hard to believe it's been that long. It feels like just a few months, but that's almost a half of a year that I've been driving this, because this guy didn't know the rules of the road. He T-boned me, and his insurance lowballed the shit out of me and did not give me enough money to replace my vehicle. I went from a perfectly working vehicle to a little pile of money that I can't fucking afford to buy a vehicle with. So that's what insurance does. Insurance is a scam, just like most aspects of this country are a scam, or have become a scam over time, over the course of my lifetime. I just turned 40. So I've watched this whole place just go to shit, essentially. Ever since 9/11, it's been downhill. And I'm not going to get any more into that. But if you have lived here since then, I hope you can understand what I mean. Everything has just kind of gone downhill every year since that date. So I'll leave it at that. But once again, I digress. So here's the story of my accident. I was driving through Baltimore City. It was late at night. It was probably about 11 p.m. I just got off the train from DC, and I was driving home. It was snowing, and, you know, the road conditions were pretty bad. I was driving through a bad part of Baltimore, through East Baltimore. It's a part that I'm actually really familiar with. My cousin actually owns property very close to that place. So I'm very familiar with that area. It's not a good area. You do not want to get stuck in that area. So anyway, I'm going through an intersection, and as I'm going through this intersection, I'm actually going to just go ahead and drive through an intersection right now and film it and overlay that on top of what I'm saying so you can understand what happened to me. So I'm driving through a green light, just like this, and someone is waiting to make a left on the intersecting road, coming the opposite direction, just like this guy. And what he is supposed to do, which is what he is doing, is wait for me to pass through my green light. And then once I'm past, he can turn behind me and make his left turn onto that intersecting road. That's the rules of the road. That's the way green lights work. Now imagine if, as I'm pulling through this intersection, I get as close as I can possibly get to this guy before passing him. And that is the moment he decides to pull directly in front of me. While it's snowing, it was literally impossible for me to stop. It was one of those situations where you know you're going to get into an accident and you just are wondering how fucking bad it's going to be. So all this happened in a split second. I hit the brakes, but there was nothing I could do. So this guy T-bones my car, destroys it, totals the vehicle. His insurance admits it's his fault. The vehicle is totaled. That's how this whole thing wraps up. I'll put some pictures of the accident up so you can see it, but pretty clear-cut case of the guy didn't know the rules of the fucking road, T-boned me. So anyway, this guy Gets out of his car. I get out of my car. I'm fucking pissed. I'm just like beside myself. He gets out of the car. Black guy starts talking. He's an African guy. You can tell. I can't understand what this guy's saying, you know, and I know that that sounds very insensitive, and, you know, I apologize if it comes off this way, but when the guy who just fucked your whole life up jumps out of the car and he can't even speak your fucking language, I don't know what else to say other than that is fucking infuriating. And I was not a happy camper, to say the least, but turns out he's an Uber driver. He had a guy sitting in the back who was his passenger, whose dad came to get him in the middle of all this. So the passenger bails out and the cops come and we sort this whole shit show out. So fast forward a little bit, and now I am dealing with this Uber driver's insurance company. And I'm going to go ahead and admit I got a little bit bamboozled by the insurance company. This is something else I got called out for in my video. People are like, oh, you're crying because you got ripped off by insurance. Well, isn't that what insurance does? Isn't that what it's for? You pay into it, and if you dare use it, they jack your premiums up so fucking high you can't eat anymore. You can't pay your damn rent. And if you get hit and somebody else's insurance is at fault, then they don't give you enough fucking money to cover the goddamn car that just got destroyed. So I got bamboozled by an industry that is set up to bamboozle people. So shame on me. They gave me $2,000 for an old shitty car. I'll admit it wasn't a great car, but it was worth probably more like $3,000 or $4,000. That's what the private party value of it was. You know, the comparable models that were for sale in my area were going for between 3 and 4, but they hit me with every little thing like, oh, well, you know, this wasn't perfect about the vehicle and this wasn't perfect. So, you know, its value is less. And by the time I went back and forth with them for weeks, I provided them with evidence that the car was more valuable than what they were offering me. But they were like, basically, fuck you, take it or leave it. So after being annoyed with these people so much that I just wanted them to go away, I took the money. And now I've been working and saving up to try to buy something else. But that's when I came into my next problem. So the used car market sucks a bag of dicks. And I don't know if anybody else has tried to buy a used car anytime recently, but I haven't needed to for a very long time. And my experience this time was way different than how I used to buy and sell cars. I used to buy and sell cars on Craigslist pretty easily. And, you know, there were some scams back in the day when I was buying and selling cars. This is probably 10 years ago, 10, 15 years ago that I was buying and selling vehicles on a regular basis. I haven't needed to in a very long time. So the market has entirely changed. And I mean, the money that they want for these trash ass vehicles, if you can even find a legitimate ad, most of the ads that are on Craigslist now are fucking scams. They're those car flipper douchebags who, one of these assholes wasted my time. And, you know, I showed up at a gas station. This guy was advertising a car and I wanted to go test drive it. I go to this gas station and I get there a little bit early. He's already showing it to somebody else. They go on a test drive. They come back. It's my turn now. So I go up to the guy and I'm like, hey, my turn, I guess. And he's like, what are you talking about? I said, you just took those guys on a test drive. And he said, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't do that. So that was red flag number one. I get in the car, we take a test drive. The mileage does not match up on this car. I think it was like listed at, I don't know, maybe 130,000, and there was 155,000 miles on the odometer. And it's clearly not as new as what he was claiming. He was claiming it was like a 2014. This is not a 2014. This is clearly an older car. So this guy is just fucking scamming me at this point. And I just took him on a little joyride just to waste his time. You know, fuck you. You waste my time, I waste your time. I knew from the jump that it was a scam, but I still wanted to waste your time. So fuck you and everyone like you. Anyway, I take this asshole for a joyride and I ask him, whose name is this title in? And he says, oh, it's a company name. All right, what's the company name? He thumbs through his little portfolio of paperwork to try and figure out what this vehicle is and what company's name it's in, because he's working with multiple companies and multiple cars. Anyway, I go back to the gas station, get out of the car, and I'm basically like, peace. So that guy wasted a bunch of my time. And that is what most of the ads on Craigslist are like these days. Now, I realized that the good cars are now hidden behind Facebook Marketplace. You have to go to Facebook Marketplace to get a decent used car. This is what everyone told me. So I have not had Facebook in over 10 years because I think it's an evil company and I don't want to be a part of it. So I had to make a fake Facebook account just to look for fucking used cars because they're all hidden in the marketplace. So I get into the marketplace and very quickly realize that the same applies. You know, there are some more legitimate ads, but still a lot of scams, still a lot of car flippers. Half of the damn ads are written in Spanish. So even the ads that I determined were legitimate ads by real human beings selling real cars that hopefully aren't lemons and won't explode in 3 months after I buy them. I went and looked at a couple of those cars, and even those cars are just dog shit cars. So if I bought a $4,000 to $5,000 10-year-old car with 165,000 miles on it, which is about what you're going to get at best for that type of money, 5, 6, 7,000 bucks, maybe even 8. So I'm looking in that price range, but that's not the end of it, because then you get to take that vehicle to an inspection shop, and that inspection shop is going to hold your vehicle hostage until you give them whatever money they have determined that you need to give them for them to give you the okay and pass you on inspection. We all know that if you go to a mechanic these days, they are not going to do jack shit for you for under $1,000 unless it's an oil change, which they now want $100 for. So after you buy the car and after you pay the inspection shop to, do whatever shit they need to do to make it drivable on the roads, you pay taxes on a vehicle that someone has already paid taxes on with money that they were taxed on before they even got it. Now they're taxing me on the same car, so they're double dipping. Taxes on taxes on taxes. Nothing new about that. That's the story of America. So now after you've paid for the vehicle and you've paid for the inspection shop to do its repairs and you've paid your share of taxes, now you get to register and insure the vehicle. And I'm in Maryland. We just passed a bunch of new laws that raised the price of everything associated with registering a vehicle. So all of that now costs more money. And insurance, of course, is ridiculously expensive. I actually have insurance right now that I have paid through 6 months. It should be good through October. So this is my new car. I am buying my stepdad's 1997 Dodge Dakota. This beautiful beast right here. This is the vehicle that I have been borrowing since my vehicle was smashed. It's a fun, zippy little truck, but man, it is not the vehicle I envisioned myself driving at the age of 40. So anyway, I'm sweating balls. I don't know if you can see this. It's hot. I'm making a video in my car and you can't run the AC because it destroys the sound. It's late July. I'm sweating. I've been called a racist for mentioning the fact that these foreign drivers are, let's be real, they're economic migrants. Not all of them are running away from some war zone. A lot of them want a better economic life. And instead of staying put and making their country a better place to live for them, their families, and future generations, they just come here, which is what all countries do. We're their lifeboat, and I guess we'll be the lifeboat of the world forever because we do not encourage people to stay put and make their country a decent place to live. Somewhere that maybe one day I would want to go to when this country inevitably goes down the shitter, which it is. So call me a racist if you want. I don't want to drive on these extremely dangerous fucking roads, which, by the way, one last thing I'm going to say. Since COVID, has anyone else noticed that everyone on the road, it's like Mad Max out there. People are driving around like it's their last day on earth, like there are no more fucking laws. Couple that with the fact that everyone in this country is a wage slave who, if they're late to work one more time, they're getting fired, and they're only 2 months away from being homeless on the street because everyone's living paycheck to paycheck and cannot put anything away into savings because the cost of living in this country is fucking nuts. Anyway, that's my rant on non-English speaking foreign drivers terrorizing our roads, destroying vehicles like mine, and ending lives. We need to put a stop to it. And I know that President Trump just signed an executive order that's supposed to put a stop to this. Let's see if it works. So far, It's not, because I still see them everywhere. Anyway, peace.